CNN is crying again because Mike Pence is not going to allow health officials to appear on the network because CNN apparently won't cover their press briefings, and I don't care. CNN, I don't care. How about you do this? You get rid of Jim Acosta, bring in a real reporter, and I'll start caring about what your network is doing. How about you get rid of Don Lemon? Stop pretending like you're a bastion of the truth and good information, and you're the victims of this awful administration that won't allow your personalities to grandstand. Okay, I'm sorry. You're pretending like you got reporters on, in this room. You don't, CNN. You're playing the same game as everybody else and pretending to be victims. Let me tell you something. Here's the headline. Mike Pence is blocking health officials from going on CNN to pressure the network to air Trump's full coronavirus briefings. This is not news. In no way should I or anyone else care that CNN can't get a guest. How many videos have I done where I'm like, I reached out to Mike Pence and he wouldn't come on my show? Do I deserve to have Mike Pence or Fauci or Trump come on my podcast? No, and neither does CNN. CNN, you're not better than anyone else. You think you're special, you're the gilded, news network? No, you're the same as everyone else. Oh, but you can pretend. Oh, it's not fair. The White House should have to go on my network. No, sorry, it's not news. If you can't book a guest, go cry about it somewhere else. I don't need you to write a diary entry every time someone says no to you. I'll tell you what. You get Jim Acosta out of there, I'll care. Fox News reported the other day, Jim Acosta accused of downplaying World Health Organization's errors to attack Trump. That's what CNN is. So do I care that no one wants to go on your network? I don't. I remember when the New York Times didn't want their reporters going on CNN because they said Don Lemon was partisan and Don Lemon got all angry about it. You guys got to stop pretending like you're better than the rest of us. We're all playing a game. I get how it works. I'll talk about it. I'll be completely honest. People like to say that I'm objective or unbiased. Well, I don't necessarily agree because I just talk about what I feel. And I definitely think my criticism points in specific directions. So look, if you come to my content, you're going to see me ragging on Democrats and ragging on CNN or the media. And rarely am I, ragging on Republicans. That's just the way I feel. I look at things, I say, hey, I don't like that. I'm going to talk about it. CNN's playing the exact same game. So I'll even be fair. When they get their pundits to come out and rag on Trump for all of these things, yeah, I get it. I'll criticize them when it's unjust criticism, but I don't bring up every single thing CNN says. Even to a certain extent, I'm willing to accept similar criticism that Rachel Maddow would receive. She rags on the president all the time. The main issue I have with these networks is that literally everything Trump does is always bad. Always. There's never a moment where they're like, that was good. Good job, Trump. They don't do it. They falsely frame things, misrepresent facts. And as far as I can tell, the reality is the truth is on Trump's side slightly more than it's on the side of the media and the Democrats. And they're desperately trying to win. Some people have said, Tim, the reality is whenever someone's in the losing faction, then they become this way. Republicans did the same, and Fox News did the same thing to Barack Obama. That may be true. We'll see how things play out in the future. And I think it's very likely that, at some point, Trump's going to be out of office, some Democrats going to win, and then Republicans will start behaving similarly, and Fox News will start behaving similarly. Yes, I get it. But for now, here's what I can tell you. I'm not going to speculate on the past or the future. I'm going to tell you what CNN is doing right now. They're crying because they can't book guests. I'm sorry, man. Fauci didn't come over to my house to come on my show. I feel for you. We're in the same boat. Is that what you're saying? Perhaps they should be forced to go on your network. Business Insider says, Vice President Mike Pence has blocked the U.S.'s top public health officials from appearing on CNN over the past week in an effort to pressure the cable news network to air President Donald Trump's White House coronavirus briefings in their entirety, CNN reported Thursday. Now, this is only technically the truth. The reality is that Mike Pence said, don't go on the network. CNN asked why, and a spokesman said, why don't you try airing the press briefings or something? To insinuate that proves that Pence is doing this for a specific reason is incorrect. I mean, it may be, but you can't say that, can you? CNN is one of several networks that often cut away from the briefings to fact check the president's statements and don't always air the full events, which can last a few hours. Trump regularly makes false or misleading claims in the briefing rooms about the pandemic. Yeah, well, you know what? The American people didn't seem to think so. They seem to like what he's saying. The polls show it. Quote, when you guys cover the briefings with the health officials, then you can expect them back on your air, a representative for Pence told CNN. CNN reported those officials included the coronavirus task force members Deborah Birx, Anthony Fauci, FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn, and Surgeon General Jerome Adams. CNN said the president had also refused all of its requests for an interview during the health crisis. On Tuesday, CNN didn't air the president's portion of the daily briefing, but tuned in for some of the health officials' remarks. The president's favorite network, Fox News, has aired the briefings in full. Well, it's no wonder he likes them. I'll tell you why Donald Trump doesn't want to go on CNN. And I'll tell you the real reason that Mike Pence probably doesn't want the officials going on that network either. That's probably true. They're annoyed that CNN and other networks won't air the press briefings in full, but they're singling out CNN. I mean, other networks have pulled away, right? Is Mike Pence only going after CNN for this? Or is it possible that Mike Pence is going after CNN for other reasons? How about this? Let's read this story from Fox News. CNN chief White House correspondent Jim Acosta took fire on social media Tuesday as critics suggested he was downplaying serious mistakes made by the World Health Organization to go after Trump. During Tuesday's coronavirus task force briefing, Trump said he may put a very powerful hold on funding for the World Health Organization as he lashed out at the United Nations specialized agency and accused it of being very China-centric. Reiterating his complaints from a tweet earlier in the day, the president said the WHO has been wrong about a lot of things. Trump has been critical of the World Health Organization for opposing travel restrictions from China and Europe. Acosta seemed to dismiss Trump's condemnation of the organization by turning to the president's own rhetoric. Quote, Trump slams the World Health Organization for calling it wrong, but it was Trump who was calling it wrong for weeks on the coronavirus. The World Health Organization called the outbreak a pandemic on March 11th. Trump cited the World Health Organization in an address to the nation on the same day, Acosta tweeted, including a link to the transcript of Trump's Oval Office address. Donald Trump, in early February, in his State of the Union address, pointed out the threat of the coronavirus from China. So while I can be critical of myself, like I said, we're all playing the same game. Here's how I see it. Jim Acosta is trying to make Trump look bad, ignoring the fact the World Health Organization was promoting Chinese propaganda, claiming that China said there's no human-human transmission in January 15th when China had data to suggest there was. The World Health Organization said the travel restrictions were ineffective and were bad. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was enforcing them and warning of this. If you go back to the root, it would seem that while Donald Trump was far from perfect, he was raising, red flags and setting up policies to combat this early on when the World Health Organization was late to the party. The World Health Organization called it a pandemic on March 11th. If you start from there and then criticize Trump afterwards, you make it seem like the World Health Organization was in front of the problem. They weren't. They were behind it, and they made this all worse. There's the problem. I can call out Jim Acosta and CNN for fake news, but I'd like to go back to the beginning of this. China had data. They ignored the data. The World Health Organization promoted fake information. The U.S. reacted poorly. Trump downplayed things, but did take actions well before the World Health Organization was treating this as seriously as they did on March 11th. We can go back a week and see that Jim Acosta is, in fact, ignoring the serious errors because he's just trying to get you. That's all they do. So why would Mike Pence say don't go on CNN? Because that's all they do. I watch CNN and I'm surprised. They don't go on the ground anymore. They become a pundit network. They claim to be journalists, but they don't do journalism. In fact, Jim Acosta has been slammed and smeared by other journalists, including the head of the White House Correspondents Association. I believe that's the guy's position. But apparently he wrote in a book that Jim Acosta is an opinion journalist. Yeah, he's a guy who gets up, states some opinion, complains, refuses to sit down or shut up. Okay, CNN, if you want to do news, get rid of Acosta and maybe they'll do news. But guess what? I'm not going to cry that I don't get to go to the White House press briefings because I'm doing political commentary. Yes, there is an air of journalism about what I do, but for the most part, I'm sitting here talking about the media and being critical. I can fully recognize that. Now, I know a lot of critics will say Tim is not a journalist. Yeah, I'm mostly doing political commentary. I got no problem acknowledging that, but there is journalism in what I do. I source and fact check a lot of information every single day. I literally just did a segment digging into the financials of Bernie Sanders, so cry about it. Jim Acosta, on the other hand, doesn't do journalism. Or I can at least say, kind of. It's opinion advocacy journalism, call it what you want, but he gets up at these events and he complains about his personal beef with the president, falsely framing things in order to score points. I wonder when these third-party fact-checking agencies will start labeling Jim Acosta as untrustworthy, because instead of talking about what is, he complains about what things, should be and what he wants. He's not doing journalism. It's just gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. He falsely frames things. He exaggerates to push his position, which I believe isn't even political. I believe it's about enriching Jim Acosta. It's about selling his stupid book on Amazon, whatever it's called, Enemy of the People. Dude, you're worse than a pundit. You're a clown show. If you had an important point to make and you made that point, fine, I'd be okay with it. But if CNN wants to claim to be on some high horse as a victim, first of all, Pence is under no obligation to send his staff, his task force, to you. You're not special. There's no guarantee. There's something in the Constitution that says that CNN shall have the right to access. You want access? Then you gotta work for it. For the time being, you're in the same boat as everyone else. Quit crying about it. I'll leave it there. Next segment will be coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all next time.